step.
Welcome back. Hope you're having a good morning. Well, the SGX seems to be suggesting a more or less flattish with a mildly positive start to trade. So let's see how that works. But we've got Hemang Jani who's joining in to help us out with some fundamental stock analysis. Hi, Hemang. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining in. Well, results season is upon us and we'll be waiting for the big tech names to come out with their numbers. But I'm not sure whether you track Delta Corp. There's always been value out there, but unlocking that value has been difficult and they've had a soft quarter. What's your view at around this 180, 190 rupees odd? Yesterday, it seemed the street was as still sensing it because the stock went into the numbers weak. But they've got cash in their books. The business is fairly decent. It has some risk as well. How do you approach it at these levels?
Yeah, good morning, Nigel. I think I looked at the numbers. They appear to be on a slightly, a muted side. And in terms of a very niche segment under discretionary consumption, this stock is something that, some people do have an exposure to. But we don't cover it in detail, Nigel. So I would not be able to comment in terms of the view or the reco.
What about Sula Wines? Any view there?
Nigel, can you repeat that?
Sula Wines. Sula Wines, they came out with an operational update. Do you have any view out there, or from that segment itself, beverages, alcohol, is there any stock you like?
Yeah, so Sula Wines, we do not cover, Nigel, but I think when it comes to the beverage space, we've been liking Varun Beverage for a while. And, going by the kind of new launches that they have done and the way the entire geographical presence they've expanded, this is one name that we've been liking. Recently, the stock also got added onto MSCI. So we think that this is one name that we would go with when it comes to that, beverage category.
Okay. All right. Which one did you say? Varun Beverages,
Yes.
right?
Varun Beverages, that's right.
Varun Beverages. Okay, got that. So Hemang, everyone's going to be talking about the IT names, as Nigel was also pointing out. Anything specific that you're watching out for in TCS's numbers today, even if it's a weak showing, if there's some clarity on what the organizational structure would be post the exit of the CEO, if the numbers are not as bad as expected, do you think it's a good time to be maybe parking some money in large caps like TCS?
Absolutely. I think, Sonia, one thing which is very clear is that the market is going into this IT earnings season with very muted expectations. And if you look at the mutual funds or the institutional holding, many of them have an underweight position when it comes to IT. So which is actually a good sign. So if we don't see any major disappointment in terms of the numbers or the guidance, I think the stock should do well. Our own expectation is that the large cap companies will report about 1.6% kind of a quarter-on-quarter US dollar revenue growth. The mid-cap will show a little better. But yes, TCS, we do have a positive bias. We think that the large-cap companies are relatively better placed in the current environment. And within mid-cap, we like Cyient and Zensar. I think these are the two companies where we are expecting good quarter-on-quarter growth with some, decent guidance going into the next year.
I think, Hemang, morning, there were some varying headlines, right, on the state of monsoon. There was a SkyMed saying something, IMD, but the variation is not very much in terms of calling for a normal or below normal. We had and this is important because, we had the management of Mahindra, the head of the tractor business with us earlier, who basically said that we'll know in about 2 weeks' time. Whether, what kind of season they're expecting and how they want to plan for the season going ahead. What is your own sense on the issue? Because there are so many sectors where, expectations are getting built in one way or the other with regards to rains. Go on.
So, Prashant, there are 2 or 3 things that I would like to convey here. One is that it's a little bit early to really take a call on the monsoon because, as we move closer to June, I think that is where we will have a slightly more clarity. Number 2, when people say that, okay, it's going to be 96% or 94% of the long-term averages, that by itself does not mean anything because what really matters is, whether, the overall spread is good or no. And thirdly, even if there is an El Nino impact that people are, making out to be, that does not necessarily lead to inflation. In fact, we have come out with a report which says that there is not much of a correlation between an El Nino and inflation. Now, having said that, I think for us, sentimentally, a normal monsoon definitely is something very big for us, and particularly in the context of the slowdown where that we are seeing on the rural side, on the consumption side. I think any news will have some impact initially, but we do not think we should worry too much about it at this stage.
Okay, I do want your thoughts on this entire railway space, Hemang, because there's a lot of orders that are coming through for companies, right? Especially with the Vande Bharat trains.